Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and in this video, I want to share with you the best characters that we have currently in our roster as of version 2.0 first half that we can pull that will remain relevant or even improve slightly with value over time. Now, this is very difficult to do because the more characters that come into the game, technically speaking, every character should get a little bit worse over time because that's how the game makes money, right? They sell us new characters. This video is like a sister pair together the video that we did previously. That one was more like historical analysis and trends that we see, which is very, very important. If you haven't seen that video, I'll recommend you check it out after this video as well. But it's also like a sequel to that video. And this video, we're looking at future trends instead. Some of you quicker ones who know, predicting the future is a lot harder than looking at history, right? History is always better in 2020, hindsight kind of thing. But first, I think the main assumptions that I need to make are three main things. One is we will always be having new characters. That is like a given assumption. For the game to make more money, more characters need to come out. The second assumption is that there will always be new game modes in the game that are coming in. For example, we have like pure fiction, and that affected like some characters like Argenti and whatnot. And the last assumption, which is also pretty simple to make, is we will always be having new enemy monsters. These assumptions basically are going to add up the notion of how we analyze this video as well. So the first things first, characters that are the best to pull, I think I need to clarify that. Let's start off first with like the most simple to understand, Kafka. I think out of all of the characters in the game, Kafka probably will be my recommendation for a character that scales well with time. Why is that said? Is she counters the three assumptions that we made. For the first two, at least for the most part, where we have new content and whatnot. So why do I think Kafka is number one on the list? Let me just explain briefly. If you guys maybe haven't read her kit in entirety, what makes her unique is she counters the deficits of DOT characters. How is that done is when she uses a skill, she actually pops the DOT on that unit immediately. For those of you who are playing with Black Swan, you know and you feel the weakness inherently of DOT characters. You need the enemies to move, which means if the enemies suddenly become super slow, your DOT damage is going to be much lesser as well. Kafka is inherently like an antithesis to whoever's trying to counter your DOT teams, which is what makes her scale very nicely. She is not a DPS in nature, she's more of like a support because of this feature. That's why Nihility, even though she's like has erudition-like aspects of hitting an AoE, Nihility in that sense, she does help in this form of helping you pop it immediately. And the more DOT characters that are added into the game, she will scale with time because of this unique feature that she has to be able to pop the enemy's DOT on an instance, which means that she scales with speed, she can just keep popping as well. One thing to note, if any of you bigger spenders want to pull this character in the long run, she also works pretty nice because as you can see here, she has DOT amplification in her E1. She also has DOT damage increase for her E2, which is very nice, and this scales even better, helps her scale even better with time. Unfortunately, I don't have the whale resources to pull for her for so many Eidolons, but if any of you love this character, you could consider going for E2 for even longer shelf life for Kafka that will scale well with time. So this is the first character, which is pretty much expected for most people in the game who have been playing a while. You know that Kafka naturally will scale with time. Another character that I think also is very, very worthwhile to mention is Runmei. This character probably will be like my number two, and not because that she scales better with new characters being added into the game. Technically speaking, the more Harmony characters that come into the game, she will be having more competition. Why then she scales very well is because of her versatility, which counters basically our second assumption of new game modes being added. And let me just go into like this screen here. If you think about Runmei's kit, she buffs almost everything. You have a skill that buffs damage by a massive amounts. You have break effect that she scales off with, she boosts and stuff like that. You have rest pen that is universal, does every single typing of damage, and a mirage of like other stuff, like you have some speed increase here and there. Even with like some Eidolons, she also has, for example, defense ignore, attack increase. She basically does almost every single thing that you need from a character, and she plays into every single team you can imagine currently. You have DOT teams, you slap Runmei in. You have crit teams with, for example, like Jingliu, you can slap Runmei in. You have any other teams that have like a DPS that wants to do damage, you slap Runmei in, she will add value across the board. And that's why I think that Runmei is going to scale very well with time. From here, as of time of recording, all the way, you guys can feel free to like revisit this video in 6 months and see how whether it aged like wine or milk, you can always make a judgment. But I do think that this is a character that likely will scale with time just because of her versatility. I don't really pull on many characters this much, but I did invest. I decided to like break my own wallet, my savings to go for an E2. I think this is a character that is very similar to like Genshin Impact's Raiden Shogun that scales well with time. That's why I was willing to go for an E2 and spend quite a bit of money on it. But that's my second character, and for any of you who are wondering, oh my gosh, I just missed these characters, I can't pull for them now because their banner is just over. Not to worry, the first banner rerun is always like in 6 months time, or from what we are seeing. The question mark is the second rerun banner. That's a bit more tricky part. So I do think that Ranmei is going to come back in probably like 4 months, 5 months time, which gives us a lot of time to save. And by 4 months, 5 months time, if it takes that long, you can actually see whether her value is like decreasing or whether what we are saying in this video is actually true in 4 months time. She's still very relevant then. Then of course you can pull the plug then, so don't have to be stressed out about missing her on this current cycle. So 2 characters that we have: Kafka, who scales a little bit better with time, with more DOT characters added; Ranmei, who really ignores the fact that new teams, new game modes might be added, and new enemies might be added. She scales very well with all of them. The next character that I want to talk about is actually a character that I've mentioned quite a lot when she was first being released. This character is ridiculously overpowered, and for any of you who haven't watched that video or watched it already and want a quick refresher, let me just summarize why this unit is my top pick in almost every single game that I've played. Preservation units, defensive units in general, have one thing in common: they put some sustain on the rest of your team. Traditionally, in a lot of other turn-based games, if you have realized, is that they put a shield or they heal your character. Why are shielders very attractive? You might say, it's like, why do you need mitigation instead? Why don't you just put like a heal, and isn't it the same thing? Shields are actually superior to heals because you increase the effective max HP. My Japad, unfortunately, is absolutely trash. He's naked. Naked here but wearing clothes, of course. So, but let's say you have like 2k HP here on your Japad. You put a shield out on him, maybe you increase by 2k HP, which means you can now take a 4k max hit damage, which otherwise, if you were playing with, like, for example, a character like Pailu, your character will just die in like a 2k hit. And you guys realize that your squishy characters, for example, like your DPS hunt characters like my Zealous, like less than 3k HP, your Topaz and Nami, my Topaz and Nami here is like also less than 3k HP, they get one-shotted very easily in harder content. That is why the shielder light units like Fucc is very good. But that's not the only thing that makes her good, is her shield cannot be cleansed or removed, which means there is, in case some of you do not know how she works, Fuccen's kit works where she puts up this like feel-like thing, misfortune avoidance, that not only reduces the damage that they take, but basically any damage that is being done by them will be redistributed into Fucc. So you are using the excellent HP that she has to soak up all these damn damage, effectively increasing your whole team's max HP, and that shield cannot be so-called purged because it's a feel-like ability for Fucc as well. On top of that, she gives you like crit damage buffing, and she does like huge amounts of AoE quantum break damage, which can like one-shot MOC waves. There are many more reasons I mentioned previously. If you are interested in the full Fucc narration, check out the why Fucc is overpowered video. I just gave you a very quick summary. She is really very broken in out of all characters I've seen, and I think this will scale with time. The only thing that Fucc is countered by are really 2 things. One is a character that does exactly the same like her, but just better, and that is like blatant power creep. It's like very offensive for whoever to do that. The second type is by enemy units that one-shot your units. For example, like the Memory Upon Death that we see, the new monster that's appearing. If you get one-shotted and you have no way to like come back into the game, Fucc is totally countered by that, because it's like a one-hit kill move in Pokemon, right? There's no way you can damage, block all of that. But if that becomes a problem, I think we'll have larger issues ahead rather than talking about whether one character is power crap or not in that sense. So that is 3 characters that I mentioned so far. I want to talk a bit also about a free-ish character that will scale well with time, and a lot of people are concerned with this particular unit now, especially with Sparkle about to be released, and that unit is Bronya. A lot of people are worried because Sparkle is like similar to Bronya. You have like crit damage buffing, you have maybe action advance and stuff like that. Very similar to her, and like Sparkle's are a limited 5-star, Bronya is like a standard 5-star. So people are thinking, well, is Bronya actually going to be like kicked off the meta? And let me just share with you like some thoughts on that. The quick answer is no, I do not think so. The reason for that is the game developers are very aware that this ability of Bronya is extremely broken. If you see her skill here, you have allows them to immediately take action. This thing is probably the most broken part of Bronya's overall kit. And you can see that in the way Sparkle was done. If I'm not wrong, some dreams were saying that it was similar for Sparkle, supposed to be 100% action advance, but they nerfed it now to 50%. What a 50% means, indirectly, it's not only just half. When you have a increased action advance by 50%, it could also mean that there will be in future a narration that says that particular action advance is nerfed. Maybe there's this like debuff in the Memory of Chaos that says any action advance is now slower by 20%. This phrase here, immediately take action, is not 100%, it's a guaranteed move, which means you are not affected by any kind of like action advance reduced by 20% for every action advancer kind of thing in future. So that's just a small gimmick, but moving immediately is very, very great because if you plop in both of them together, let me just give you an example. Let's go into the team menu here real quick. Let me just see whether I have anyone with Bronya so I don't have to adjust so much. Let's just say, for example, this one. I'm going to slap in Bronya here, and I'm going to slap in Sparkle. Since we don't have Sparkle of time of recording, let's put in Misha just for elaboration. 100% action advance on Bronya, 50% action advance on Misha. Your hyper carry DPS here, for example like Acheron in future, that maybe doesn't scale, if doesn't scale with energy restoration, you have 100% push, you push your DPS up, 50% push, you push your DPS up again. And if you don't need sustain, like the meta is shifting away from sustain, for example in Pure Fiction, you slap in a character like Asta here for a triple harmony team to immediately bump up your DPS non-stop. Speed buff for your rest of your two supports that just keep funneling. Sparkle giving skill points so you can keep looping this near infinite action turns for your main DPS. And on top of that, there is this light cone in the game, and if you're running like triple harmony, it's very, very abused. If you have copies of this light cone, make sure you keep them separate unless you are a whale. That's dance. You slap on 3 of these for your 3 different harmony characters, you effectively have a 48% action advance each time they cast their ultimate, and that is like basically 100% push if you put it together with Asta and then Sparkle, and it's like a whole team move faster. If you are a super damn whale, you have all of it at 24%, that's almost a 75% push for your entire team each time your harmony characters they use their ultimate, which is very, very ridiculously strong, especially if you're going for a triple harmony hyper carry style. Previously, some of you are wondering why it's not done previously at triple harmony, is you simply did not have enough skill points to maintain Bronya's uptime. You could say like some of her stuff benefit, for example like Bronya's E1 and stuff like that, that give you a bit of refund here, like this one here, in case any of you are wondering. You get a bit of refund here, but still it's not enough if you want to run like a full triple harmony team, which you require a lot of pushing. Sparkle is going to change that. You're going to get a lot of that refund out. So that's just a quick disclaimer for any of you who are worried of whether Bronya is still going to be relevant in future or not. That's what I have to say, some of my commentary. I think that she's going to scale with time. The reason why I'm putting her in this video like to pull for is because a choice has to be made, right? You need to choose which standard character that you want out of all 300 pulls that you get. Once you hit the 300 pull standard and you can pick the standard character that you want, I think Bronya is still going to scale very well with time. 4 characters that we've talked about so far, and I was thinking real hard about the last 2. And I was thinking, do I want to put in a 4-star just for the sake of, or do I just want to talk about a 5-star? The reason why I think 4 stars are a little bit trickier to talk about is I am sure that Hoyoverse plans to add in new characters that have 4-star kits that will just be like scaling up to 5-star kind of these stats. If you guys don't realize, Hoyoverse strategy is they put a 4-star in, and what they do after that is they test whether people like that 4-star, the kit of the 4-star. And if it's popular, what they will actually do is introduce a 5-star character with does more or less the same things, just slightly better. They are slightly smarter nowadays. They don't exactly copy 1-to-1 and upgrade the ratios. But still, 4 stars are generally a testing ground. If you were to force me to like recommend 4 stars, I think my 2 choices right now will be Pella and Tingyun. These 2 are relatively affordable, but for the fact that there are so many harmony characters coming out that are very, very strong, I think Pella would still be my top pick for 4 stars that will scale with time, simply because AoE defense shredding and the amount of ice resistance shredding and whatnot that she does is really very difficult to come by, and debuffs seems to be a slightly more popular tool. One thing I want to say is that Pella might have a decreased effectiveness, especially if characters like Jingliu falls off in the meta with new DPS coming into the game. That's one of the biggest risks. So I will reserve my 5th and final recommendation of characters that would scale well with time and best characters to pull for to be this unit. If you guys want to make a guess, my unit of recommendation will be Topaz and Nambi. Topaz and Nambi scales very nicely for 2 things. One is any new follow-up character that is added into the game benefits her. She does more damage because more team members can be placed in the same team. Secondly, she increases the amount of follow-up damage that your teammate has. Currently in the game, we do not have any of that, so any character that is added into the game that is follow-up directly benefits Topaz and Nambi. The second thing I want to talk about is the likelihood of that happening. If you think about it, IPC is a very big faction that is going to be introduced more and more. We have Adventurine. Eventually there are characters that maybe Diamond, Admiral or whatever not that is going to be added into the game. All of them, from what we are kind of dreaming, might work very well together. In that case, a supportive / sub DPS unit like Topaz and Nambi might work pretty well scaling into the future, considering that you have the branch of IPC scaling and you also have new follow-up character scaling. I think it works pretty well in total too. I think this character is definitely one to look out for. In game modes, currently I don't think follow-up is very top meta that a lot of people play, but it could be in future, especially if Hoyoverse wants to start emphasizing and starting to sell the follow-up characters a lot more. We might see more value coming from there too. That is my opinion. Adventure is around the corner. I think that is going to lead to some sort of scaling, and in future if we have more IPC, which it seems that they are very present in the whole lore kind of thing, so you can expect more for them. I think Topaz and Nambi is a character that is not very popular now, but will definitely scale with value over time, and she hasn't had her first rerun I think yet, so definitely going to be near in the horizon. And if you guys appreciate such content, do check out the video where we talk about historical analysis. That is very important. Why did I only choose certain set of characters is because of information that we gain from historical data, and then we are using to compare it now. But anyways, if you guys found this video helpful, check that video out, like and subscribe for more such future content, and see you in the next one.